Beautiful morning today here near Baker Beach. The fog is super low, so it's been just sweeping through these woodland areas and been trying to get some images of trees, mostly with the 70 to 200 on the D850, but I also have my 16 to 35 lens, and I think I'm going to take that out and try a wide composition of some really gnarled trees right up the hill. The last time I tried to shoot the gnarled trees, I tried to shoot it with diffuse lighting, so it was a little cloudy out, but I just didn't feel like there was enough atmosphere to the shot. So I'm back again, and I'd like to redo that shot, but with some fog, and I think it'll be really cool. So I'm back at the gnarled trees that I tried shooting before without the fog. It was a nice diffused day, a lot of clouds, but just didn't have the right atmosphere. This actually does. This looks super beautiful. We've got these nice layers of fog moving through the trees, and it's changing constantly. So really amazing what a little bit of fog can do to the scene. I really love the contrast here. Looks like the fog dissipated just a little bit. So I'm gonna wait probably another 2 or 3 minutes. I think that fog is gonna come through in the background again and give a nice ambiance. There we go. That's looking good. Looking very good. So here is my foggy tree image. I am just so glad I came back to this spot to try and reshoot it with this beautiful layer of fog. I think it helps to tell a better story of the location, or at least what I wanted to say about the location, with these incredible roots and almost wicked shapes to the trees. It also helped a lot to simplify the composition and hide some of the, I guess, clutter in the background, you could say. Here's a wider composition taken at 16 millimeters, and that distortion creates an even more surreal look to this photograph. I think I still like the tighter shot a little bit more, but I do think the wider shot works better in the fog than it did previously when I only had those overcast conditions. Now actually, before I left, I tried even a third composition that I hadn't tried the first time. Here's what I shot. So I got super close to that tree on the left side and did this composition, which I thought was interesting. It was kind of a nice addition to the more symmetrical compositions I had before. You can still see those roots really well. You have a nice lead-in with this twisty tree that leads you into that tree with the roots in the background, and that fog layer just added such a nice element to this one as well. I was super happy to capture these compositions, and then I actually went down the hill a little bit and found an interesting texture that I wanted to play with. I'm finding some really interesting textures on these trees, trying to get some nice abstract shots. I've got my 10-second timer going. I'm using a tripod because I want to do a focus stack for each shot. So I'm going to do 2 or 3 images at different focal points, so that I can make sure to get the image completely tack sharp. I thought it was kind of cool with these diagonal lines going across the image, and a little bit of shadow on the right side and then a little brighter on the left side. But I like these nice curvy lines and textures to this tree. So I've got ISO 100, f/18. I'm at a 1-second exposure. Now I have a touch screen here, so I'm just going to tap on the right side to focus on that side. And with my 10-second timer, I'm going to click the shutter and then release. It's going to take that shot. And for this, I'm doing f/18, so I think most of the image is going to be in focus. This bottom part is pretty much the furthest thing away from the camera. So now I'm just going to tap on the screen and go to the middle. do a focus point for that. And that should be properly in focus, but just in case, I'm going to tap on this left side, grab one more focus point. I don't have to use it, but my motto is if you have the time, shoot the extra frames, and then you're not going to miss them when you realize you don't have something that you need later on. So we hiked from Baker Beach, which is right at sea level, up a little bit higher to where the fog level is, and now we're in the Presidio Woods. So I think it would be fun to just go explore, hike around for a little while, see if we can find any interesting compositions in the trees. I mean, this is some beautiful fog right now. The fog is gorgeous right now. Just trying to shoot some of these layers. So let me go ahead and show you the composition that I'm working with here. So here's the composition as the fog kind of shifts. So you've got this tree on the right side leading in from the bottom right, this nice branch with these little textures on here, and then on the opposite side, right over here, you can see those spiky textures. Anyways, it was really fun to work with. So there's actually kind of a funny story behind this photograph. I've passed this tree so many times, hundreds of times. I go on a lot of walks and runs around the Presidio, and this is always on my route. And every time I pass it, there's this little thought in my head, like, this would make for an interesting photograph maybe, but I've never fully understood how I would do it, how I would compose it, or what conditions would be required to make it an interesting photograph. And sure enough, as I was walking by, I saw the layer of fog with this tree, and I thought, you know what, I think it's time for me to try this image. And so I popped behind this bush to get a little bit of bokeh in the foreground. Such a weird tree. I don't even know what to say about this one, but I actually really like the way this one came out. Alright, so this is definitely one of my favorite images from the day. I actually played around with this composition
quite a bit. I love those jagged patterns created by the kind of negative space in between these two tree lines. So I made a pretty conscious choice not to show too much of the trees on the right or the left side. I just wanted the edges of both of those tree lines to create this abstract pattern. It's interesting, I've photographed these woods so many times over the years, and I feel like every single time I get out there to shoot, I'm always finding something new, something that I hadn't seen before. And I feel like that's true about most locations I visit. The more I spend time with a landscape, the more I spend time exploring and getting to know a place, the more I have to say about the place, the more I start to understand what the landscape is about and what I want to say about the landscape. And so I'd encourage you to do the same. It's kind of like meeting a new friend. You know, it's hard to get to know somebody in 30 minutes to an hour, but if you spend a lot of time with somebody, you start to get to know them. And I feel like it's the exact same thing shooting landscape photography. So definitely get out there and get to know your landscape. As always, I really appreciate you watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, helps me out a lot, and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be releasing a bunch of new videos in the future. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.